I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I live today, the Gubbi Gubbi, Kabi Kabi people, and the Jinnabara people, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. So I've got a group of 4 paintings here. I'm thinking I might just have a look at one at a time and have a chat about it with you here, because I'm just working out, I'm at this stage, I'm working out, is this finished? And I'll have to do again that idea that I hold the frame around it as well. So this one, I'm really quite loving a lot of it. Especially those leaves on these leaves, and how I've had a whole lot of different shades and marks behind, and then I've gathered the shapes and left what was under painting. I've left that as the leaves, and I love that the most because it comes out the most spontaneous in the shapes and the colours of those leaves. I love the looseness of that little cup. So if I'm to look at this, it's actually a lot of looseness, which I have been after. But then when I look at the greenery and stuff, it's quite sort of controlled in my fine line outlining. But there's enough kind of differences and variations in the colouring to seemingly balance that out a bit. So when I look at that, I think, could I put more in that vase? Could it want sort of more in there? But I'm loath to put anything more in case I then overcrowd it. So if I look at this one here, I feel like I've gotten to the stage this morning where I've been sort of overworking this one. And, you know, in comparison, do you see how that one's so much more quiet? It's got some space to rest, but there's subtlety in the background that gives you something nice. It's not just empty. So I really love the feeling of this one. This one here, I'm enjoying the contrast of the dark blue vase jug, and I love too that it's sort of almost looking like one of those clay jugs. With that spontaneous kind of decorative design on it that was not planned. So I like that. Not loving some of this. I was getting a bit annoyed at these leaves all looking a bit the same size, and it wasn't interesting enough. It was just sort of getting this crowd of over-controlledness. So I actually used a piece of tracing paper and did that blue line stem to give it a try without committing right away, and decided I did like it. And boy, was it tricky to paste on, because it kept flipping out and moving and stuff. And then I had to put the gel medium dry on it to dry it first. So yeah, that's still wet. So I'm going to let this dry completely and then come back. I did have just a kind of a dark brown kind of crayon mark on that bottle, and it looked kind of so sweet. It's almost got a little dress-like feeling to it. And I must have decided that was getting a little heavy-ish looking. So I've taken to it with a Holbein oil pastel. It's the only oil pastel I've got is in white. So that won't be the same as the watercolour crayons, and it won't dissolve. So yeah, this one here is I'm not as happy about this one as I am about this one, but there are elements in here that I am loving. So that's those two. Then I'll swap that one out. Bring this one down. So this one, I actually quite love it, and I think I need to leave it alone. Yes, those plants I don't know about you, but I find myself starting off new plants like that all the time in spare jars and bottles and things around the house. So this one feels, again, it's got enough looseness. If anything, maybe I could lighten up a little bit more that to differentiate between that's like a tabletop and that's sort of like a wall. But I sort of like how it's suggested, but it's not, it's not definite. And I'm getting away from where I would always use heavy, thick white paint and do a strong background. So this is sort of like a new way that I'm approaching of really wanting to keep, it's like white glazing. And what's interesting, what I'm finding, is because I've used ink in the blue, it's obvious, it's been a lot of ink and sometimes Prussian blue paint. It seems to be seeping through the colour, coming back through when I've glazing it with the watery white. So that's been interesting, I think, to see that. So, and I really love, this is oil pastel and just drawing loosely the cup. I really love the way that looks and overlapping this. So yeah, there's pieces there that I really, really love. And so then I will bring the last one. And that's this one. It had a few iterations, this one. I didn't start out, I started out probably with a lighter table like some of the others. And I just kept going and changing it. And then I ended up thinking, well, I really love this cup. And so it's become, I guess, quite a feature, front and center, right coming forward at you. And then for it to pop so well, I thought, well, I need the high contrast. And I really love, it's almost like a deep denim kind of tablecloth or something. So really enjoying that. And then having that leaf come across just loosely drawn brings in another quality that wasn't there yet. Not quite. I mean, I've drawn using crayon looping. What I'm learning from using the sketchbook is how much I love high contrast and line work. Those are two things that I've realized just how much, like, it delights me to see the rough line making. I really enjoy it. So I think this one's finished as well, so it's interesting for me, to just sit. And the reason, I'll have a chat, or maybe off with the camera with you. Hi there. So I think I'm going to have to hold this microphone up to get clearer sound. I'm sorry about the variations in sound and everything that you'll find in these videos at the moment. I'm still learning, and it's a case of let's not give up. Let's keep going and do the best I can. So these 4 paintings that I'm talking about today, I wanted to mention also why I didn't video the process of how I made them. Currently in my video my YouTube channel, this is about extending my practice to share the process and share the sort of the thoughts and feelings and things behind making of the art. So eventually I may bring out some classes of how to, but that's not the purpose of what I want these videos for, because I think that'll just bring too much pressure about it. And I'd rather have you learn, by my experience, that I share these critiques, if you like, of sometimes finished work, and sometimes I might do show the process as well. It really depends what's going on in the studio. And I have to say, I think when I feel more sort of vulnerable and not sure where I'm heading, it's sometimes more difficult to share that. Or actually, more importantly, if I remember now, when I was doing these, is that I really wanted to push the boundaries of where I'd been going with my work. I'm wanting to really bring in more elements by considered I'll start again. Like with the work I'm doing the sketchbook challenge, it's really having me go within and do a lot of that self-questioning and finding out what it is I love. And so then in my artwork, what are the elements that I love the most? And growing those, extending out of my normal range or normal comfort zone and finding kind of new territory that also delights me. I don't know if it's unfortunate that I sometimes get bored quickly and I want to just do something new all the time. It's like the new shiny. I have to be sort of aware of that, and sometimes it takes a bit of discipline to come back in and go, no, let's keep doing with the same thing for a bit to see how far I can grow it. So these ones here have really, I decided, what if I just treat these boards as if they were pages in my sketchbook? How about I take the pressure down? And so that was why it was important I didn't film the process, because I needed to have nobody judging, nobody looking. I need to just play. But so with this lot, I'm happy to have been able to come back around at the end and share with you what are my thoughts on them at the moment. And all but only one out of the 4 I think I might still do a little bit more on, and the others feeling that they're going to a sort of a new place that I haven't exactly been before. A little bit of still life and leaving a lot of the shadows and shapes of things gone by. So yeah, that may be all to say about this little collection for now. If I think of something else, I'll add it on. And excuse, there's rain falling on my roof as I record this, and so that might account for some of the poor quality when I was recording before with a different headset, talking about the work. So really sorry about the background noises and things that make it difficult for you to listen. Thanks so much for visiting, and I'll see what else I can find to add to this week's vlog. just pop them in and share them with you as they are. Thought I'd have a little chat about these. This is a classic case of how one thing leads to another. So I've had the 4 backgrounds of these done for quite some time, and I just felt they weren't finished, but I wasn't confident as to what I wanted to do with them next, and I left them sitting and waiting. So on the far left, the one on the left with the circle sort of donut shape, I haven't added anything to that yet today, but I've done some additions to the others. So I started out with that one there and just went with a fine liner, doing outline of kind of gum leaves and a bit of a protea in the middle. And there was a big greenish shape, so I made that more vase-like. So that's how it's looking at the moment. I'll see if that's all it's going to have. I think I'm more enjoying these ones. Like I shared in a recent video, I really realized how much I love high contrast and line work. So from enjoying that in another painting, which I have still here, because I enjoyed that white cup shape so much, I thought, well, why not? I'll just bring it over here. So this is a case of I've had a lot of pattern making and interesting shapes already on these boards, and I didn't want to lose them, and I didn't want to, I don't know, do something that was going to take away from them or something. So I wanted to find a way to add the least possible but make a bit of an impact. So I feel like this one here is working well. This one on the end here, I like how that's looking. It's got lots of interesting shapes, and I can imagine that being able to sit on its own. It's really pleasing to the eye. This one here I'm quite enjoying as well. Here comes that lucky bamboo keeping on visiting because it's around and it's in my mind, so it pops in again because I love the way that it just, one stem of it fills the space quite beautifully, but there's a relaxed nature to it. And that tall shaped sort of jug, those tall shapes were already there, and it was just a case of, well, you know, I can use my oil pastel and put a jug. And then I've put a little bottle shape using, you know, the same sort of colors. That's a Neo Color crayon I've used. So I'll have to seal these in with the matte medium. And I was going to put something else coming out of that bottle. What I usually have been doing here, I just draw in chalk to see how things feel, and you know, chalk easily washes off. And I had something coming out of that little bottle, and I didn't have anything coming out of the jug, but I actually prefer having it out of the jug, and I don't think I will put something to add to the space out of that bottle. I think I might leave it as it is. So this one here, I guess I'm in two minds whether I'm happy with all of it. It's quite heavy. That vase shape at the bottom is sort of quite strong, quite heavy. So maybe what do you call it? Regretting giving that such a strong green color, although I'm in love with all things green, and green glass does make me really happy. But you can see how over here that subtle, the olive is not as loud. It's loud in the way of contrast, but not in the way of the brightness. So there's other things on there that catch your attention. So there's a lot going on in just these small boards, and that's why they've sort of had me a bit confused as to, whilst they just had this abstract thing happening, I didn't feel, you know, it wasn't telling much of a story or having characters in it that made it feel complete for me. Although I loved all of the marks and the differences. Like you can see close up, there's really lovely quiet conversation in that light section there. So there's lots of elements here that I really enjoy. So I feel like I need to be a bit careful as to how I go about if I'm going to add to that one. But I wanted to share with you just the little happenings there of these. And so, yeah, I think, you know, they could be fun little presents for Christmas, like single little paintings, and they're on deep boards, and I've painted right around the edges, so they'll be able to sit on a shelf or hang up. So that's what's happening with those, and I wanted to just pop them in and share them with you. to have a little chat about this painting because I've just received a message and it's being picked up in an hour because it's sold a little while ago to a lovely lady in North Queensland. So I won't be able to see it anymore. And I wanted to have a little chat about it because in many ways this is another, I feel like a breakthrough piece for me. It's kind of the first painting I made of this kind of still life, trying to get a bit quirky. And I can see I've kind of already started getting a bit more well behaved over there with these others where everything's on the table and things. So this one I particularly loved because things were off the table, on the table, all kinds of sizes and perspectives and color and brightness. And so yeah, when I say breakthrough, there's lots of rules that I've broken here in what I used to do a lot of. And so this feels fresh and new. And I just had an old board that I painted over. It was a really nice quality board, but I'd tried painting on it a few times and it ended up, you know, in the corner looking sad for a long time. And so I didn't have much attachment to the surface and thought, all right, I'll just try something loose and free and not worry about it. And as soon as I posted it up on my Facebook, within a day it sold, which is kind of rare, you know, like that's that magical thing that can happen sometimes. So there's definitely something in this one that I've captured and there's a lot that I love about it. So having this kind of vlog opportunity to, you know, document my art path a little bit, I thought it might be good to have a look at what's going on. And I think I've, you know, I've sort of mentioned it already of taking things off the center, really letting a lot of looseness. You know, like I really played first on the surface, that contents of that jug, a lot of those marks were there underneath and with these leaves. So there's a lot of color and things underneath and, you know, left a little whisper of it around the corner. I just love that there's kind of freedom, movement, joy, there's all sorts going on. And then these two little cups that just really made me happy. And now you can see a month or two later, these little cups are arriving everywhere again. You know, like years ago, I was putting cups in various ways. And so now, you know, I'm letting them back and letting them be whatever size they want. And that's really happy making. So this beautiful painting is called Lucky Bamboo. And again, see that bamboo, it's still delighting me. So it's still showing up. So that's just interesting for me to notice these things and take a note of it, remember it.